is another episode on Let's Share. I'm Molly Dasobre. Today we will be discussing an interesting topic, the adolescent reproductive health. This topic is often misunderstood, misinformed, and a whole lot about it. Today, joining us again, we have Madam Dora, the public health nurse and the regional adolescent youth focal person for the Upper East region, to give us more insight on the topic, adolescent reproductive health. Mommy, welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so today we are going to see some of the challenges of who an adolescent is and what they face, how they go about it, just the brief. So if you could give us who was an adolescent?
Well, by definition, adolescent is someone between the ages of 10 to 19 years. And it is a period of transitioning from childhood to adulthood. It also comes with a lot of challenges, especially with reproductive health. This is the time where there are changes that occur. The young boy who has been playing with the colleagues finally starts to see some physical and then emotional changes that occurs in their system, which sometimes they do not even understand. It's a period of confusion where they want to compare themselves with their colleagues to see whether what is happening within me is the same thing happening within a colleague.
Okay. So, Mommy, what are those changes that the adolescent boy would see on him or feel, then he'll be like, I'm not more an adolescent?
First on the list is more on puberty, and it comes with physical, which you and I can see, and where a young boy or girl starts seeing pubic hair growing from private parts, and then growth in the sexual organ differently from when they were kids, how it looked like. And some of them are within them emotionally that they get those changes. With the boys, the common one is they get up one day and the tiny voice that was in them would change into a very deep one. And so when it comes with young girls too, you start seeing the feminine shape within them. The breast starts forming at a stage, then they start growing hips and changing into a woman. So these are some of the physical changes you see with adolescent. And those that we cannot see are within them with emotions, where they start to rebel, they start to challenge authority, they question whatever they've been asked to do. At that point, when you used to tell them, oh, sit here, don't go anywhere, they want to move and find out why do you want them to even sit at a particular place. And they are attached to their emotions. They start making friends with either the same sex or opposite sex.
I see. So what are some of the challenges that they face, apart from the changes that are difficult to append to, like to just figure it out? Some people are scared when that happens. What are some of the challenges that these kids or young adults face?
Some of the challenges is that of late, they get involved sexually earlier than it used to be. That is to say, there's early sexual debut. And then some too have precocious puberty, where the puberty comes earlier than expected. For instance, you see an 8-year-old girl or a 7-year-old girl, and she's looking like a 16-year-old girl or an 18-year-old girl. And that is where sometimes the challenges are. Because of the changes that occurs to them, they want to act according to the changes that occur to them. Hence, they are faced with social stigma, and sometimes some also capitalize on the fact that they have had those changes and treat them not like adolescents, but treat them to like adults. It's also faced, they also face episodes or issues of child marriage, in that some get pregnant, and because of the pregnancy, it's an automatic that they have to be given out to those who impregnated them or to marry to older men. There's also issues related with teenage pregnancy. When they get pregnant, you and I know that at this stage, they are not fully grown. They need to be able to grow to some certain stage to be able to carry the pregnancy to term. And teenage pregnancy comes with challenges with regards to even carrying the pregnancy to term, labor and childbirth.
And taking care of
the children.
Yeah.
They end up also dropping out of school because of the pregnancy. And once the child drops out and they don't give that support, what happens? The fellow becomes an adult that will not be able to care for herself or himself or even the child.
So, Mommy, you mentioned that they now indulge in early sex. Which age range is that, based on your experience you've had with them, that the adolescents nowadays, they have this early sex?
That one depends on the particular adolescent, especially with the level of curiosity you find in them. Like I gave an example that a girl who is maybe the lowest we have had is 9 years,
having sex,
who has been able to, she has gotten pregnant and even given birth.
Wow.
So a 9-year-old who has already grown into a full-grown woman, obviously, would be enticing the other or the opposite sex. Don't forget that as they grow with all those things and then the hormonal changes in them, they may have that feeling. And early developers would stand risk when they are always with the adult, the grown-ups, late developers who already have experience. And so whilst they mingle with them, they're able to pick up what they are asked to do or what the others are doing. And the end, then, because of a typical example is a girl who is an early developer, and she started having pimples on the face. And the next thing a colleague would tell her is, the best way to get rid of your pimples, if you could get semen or sperms to apply on your face. That's the only way your pimples would go. Now, come to think of it, such a girl, where will she get
semen from?
It's indirectly like she should indulge in it so that she can be able to get that. And once that happens, they are exposed.
That is true. That is true. This is new.
Yeah.
This is new. So with the challenges and the changes that you go through, what are some of the common misconceptions about adolescent reproductive health issues?
You've asked an interesting question. And when it gets to this point, parents or caregivers do not want to hear you talk about sexual and reproductive health among their children. Most on the list is contraceptive usage. The misconception out there is that as an adolescent, you have not been licensed to have sex. Hence, the discussion on contraceptives is a no-no. And people out there, or sometimes we believe that it's only those who are married that should be licensed to have sex, hence to seek contraceptives. And so this is one of the misconceptions in the community. Also, it is taught outside that if you introduce contraceptives to an adolescent, you are giving him or her the license to go about and have sex freely.
It's like
which is not true. It's just an assumption that if you give the fellow the opportunity to use a contraceptive, then you are asking the fellow to go around and have sex.
Okay, so Mommy, if it's not true that if you give the person the knowledge of our contraceptives, the person is allowed to go have sex, what is the truth about contraceptives?
The truth about contraceptives with regards to adolescents is that once they are informed that this is what contraceptives can do, this is what it cannot do, then they take the right decision for themselves. And there is no limit to a type of contraceptives for adolescents. As long as the eligibility criteria is there, she's been screened, she has no any condition that will interfere with any of the medication or any of the commodities, and she wants to go in for it. Let me also say this for us all, as parents, to understand. It is wrong for a parent, sometimes we see it at our facilities, will just hold a girl to the facility and ask that mommy nurse, oh, give her something that will prevent pregnancy because she will end up disgracing me. It shouldn't be so. You are supposed to find out whether that girl is really interested in it. Most of the times, it is assumed that a girl who is found among boys, communicating with boys, always in the company of boys, such a girl has become sexually active. That shouldn't be the case. And so with adolescents, when they come to our facility, I believe that we should spell out all that is there. And for that question, may I also ask you, if you know that there's a ditch on your way to your home, will you intentionally go into the ditch?
No.
That is it. So you are supposed to give that information. Let them know what is there so that they take responsibility for the consequences of their actions. They make informed decisions regarding the sexual and reproductive health services.
Yeah, so the right information concerning those contraceptives is needed.
Very much.
And you touched on the fact that the adolescent needs to be screened, tested, and all that. How does the adolescent get to know about that, or how does the adolescent get access to that?
In our engagement with adolescents, as we share information on sexual and reproductive health services, we make it clear to them that abstinence is key. It is only through abstinence that you prevent STIs. It's through abstinence that you prevent unplanned or unwanted pregnancy. And so for that matter, if you know you cannot abstain, you can visit the nearest health facility where it will be spelled out and your reproductive goals will be taken through with you. You will tell them how long you want to stay without getting pregnant. An experience shared with me by an adolescent once was that, unfortunately, such an adolescent got pregnant and gave birth, and that was the time she had information from these clubs or during services that, oh, there's something called contraceptive you can use to prevent pregnancy. And she told me that if she had known this, she doesn't think she will even get pregnant. She said sometimes parents think that, or caregivers think that when you do family planning or you take a contraceptive, you will go out for sex. But there is that one day that you have not planned to have sex with your boyfriend. But you get there and conversation, and before you realize it has happened.
Involved.
So they would want to use contraceptives in order to prevent the occurrence of such.
Yeah. So right now, what contraceptives are readily available to the young adults out here?
All range of contraceptives are available, from the pills to the injectables to the insertions. We can also categorize them in a short term and long term. And this is where it's dicey. An adolescent can walk into a facility and say, I want sterilization.
Mommy, I want sterilization.
Thank you. I would throw a little bit light on it. With sterilization, it's a process where a surgical procedure is done and your tubes, girls' tubes are tied to prevent pregnancy. It really doesn't take that much. It's just a short and a simple procedure that is done. And it's a permanent method. So can it be done to males? But even with that, before we give such services to an adolescent in need of it, we will take you through a series of tests and let you have the feel of a long-term experience. We have long-term reversible and long-term irreversible. And once the adolescent is asking for that, which is irreversible, we'll take you through the long-term reversible until you are okay and understand the fact that this is what I want. Then it will be offered to you with your consent. So all ranges of services that are there, contraceptives that are there, is really readily available for adolescents. But because we frown against them, we don't see that it is important for them to even know about it or important for them to walk in and freely take it. We find adolescents going in for abusing what we call emergency contraceptives. And that is not a contraceptive. As the word goes, emergency contraceptives. Once they start taking it and abusing it, it's going to what? Affect their cycle. It's going to have hormonal imbalance in their system. And such a young person will not be able to track her fertility or her cycle.
So, emergency contraceptives.
Yes.
Is there a period in which they're supposed to take these emergency contraceptives or not?
Yes, there is a period.
Like a number of time.
Not even an adolescent alone. As the word goes, like you are not prepared to have sex, you didn't plan of it and it happens, and you do not want pregnancy to set in. Or in cases where there's rape, then we bring in the emergency contraceptive, not to burden the victim with an unplanned pregnancy in the future. So with that one, it has a grace period. Within 72 hours, you take it. But because that information is not out there for them to take, and it's a readily take-away medication in the drugstores, you find them just going to pick it. And they may not administer, or most of the time they don't administer or they don't take it rightly. You're supposed to take it within a period. So let's say that I've had sex twice within the 72 hours. One dose is good enough to be able to cover up. But what is happening in the communities now is that you find an adolescent having sex 3 times in a day, and that adolescent will take the emergency contraceptive 3 times.
Wow.
Which is usually a heavy dose of the normal contraceptives that we are supposed to give.
If you're an adolescent out there and you need any information on your sexual reproductive health, do not hesitate to contact She Plus hotline on 0800 001 122 or any of the numbers on your screen. Thank you. How do you think we can curb adolescent pregnancy? Leave your answers in the comment section. Thank you very much, Madam Dora. It has been interesting, and as you can see, there's a lot. We can go on and on, but unfortunately for your part, we would continue next week. But the unfortunate thing is, today's episode has come to an end. Next week, we would continue with the discussions and we would throw more light and insights on contraceptives and adolescents. Don't forget to tune in, and this has been Let's Share. Bye.